Hello and good evening and good night, everybody. Once again, we are back on YouTube. And once again, I have failed miserably in connecting my YouTube stream to OBS. I have a very fancy OBS layout there waiting, ready to go. But for some reason, I just cannot do it. God, I don't know how to do this. Louis J says, "Are you there?" Yes, I am. 815 says, "Hero, hero yourself." I know how to do this. Gnome's Child says, "Howdy, hello." Well, it's not the end of the world, but I have a very nice setup on OBS. I mean, it looks like this. Let me take a screenshot. At least I can share that with you. Yes. Test. As we wait for people to come in, I will share with you my fake ass, my fake ass OBS layout. And well, this was going to be like this. I had like these fancy waves and everything set up, but I'm just too stupid to connect it. And 14 people watching, 2 minutes in. Why don't you make yourself comfortable? Call your friends, call your loved ones, summon your mutuals, and I will be back. I'll just get some coffee to get the night rolling. And thank you all for being here, all 15 of you. I think we can even get donated chats tonight, and I would really appreciate if some come my way. If they don't, well, nothing's gonna change. Gnome's Child is pumping iron. Go, go, go. I will be back. Enjoy the fake me as I get some coffee. All right, what a nice evening. Oh my God, 22 people in the house. Thank you all so much. Whoa, really nice. YouTube Joseph says, do you have any plans for April Fool's Day? I do pranks all week. Well, you're very lucky. I think no. I mean, last time I was actively doing April Fool's pranks was before the millennium, so think about that. But yeah, Louis J says happy Eid to the Turks. For the Turks, it is Bayram. Let me bring up that map actually. So in Turkey, this is a religious holiday. The name of that holiday is Bayram. And let us say in countries that have historically been colonized, subjugated, used, and otherwise have never known the meaning of sovereignty, they call it aid, but it has always been Bayram in this part of the world. It is it's the difference between, I have to word this carefully. It's the difference between culturally sovereign Muslims and imperial subjects cosplaying as thus. But yeah, it's a subtle but big distinction. Anyways, so happy Bayram, yeah. Okay. Wow, many people. He's a clone, says Bleatnik. Drawing right now, says Polydaedalus. 1815 says, same. The YouTube Joseph says, no one talk until he gets back, as if it's a teacher. Turan says, hello. Good evening, says Boris Chonev. Hey, how's it going? CM Kozman says, the Dark Master. Doing research on extinct amphibian icebergs. What is your favorite extinct amphibians and one do you think is underrated? Oh, there's so many. There's, I think, two groups of extinct amphibians that look like snakes but were not snakes. One was called Istopoda. They were really snaky. And another group was called Lysorophidia or Lysorophia. I have forgotten the name. But if you dig deeper in this YouTube channel, if you're just watching on a replay, and if you dig deeper, actually, I've got a big video about istopods and Lysorophians. Turan says, is Bayram or Eid something celebrated by Muslims? Turkey, being a Muslim country, has this month of feasting called Ramadan, in which you don't eat or drink or actually let anything enter or leave your body during the day. And then it comes to an end today, which is a big holiday, and everybody just lets loose. In fact, that's why they call it Şeker Bayramı, which means the candy feast, because, well, people fuck up their endocrine systems. Fasting is really tough. And it's not like Christian Lent or something. Like, you can't even drink water or carry out other functions. So that's why they call it Şeker Bayramı. That's why we don't do the Eid thing here. And that's why actually many people, I've been eating candy and chocolate like crazy, even though I didn't fast. I had a huge bowl of ravioli, but I was handed these incredible sweets. Now, I'm not going to eat them on stream because I've had enough of chocolate today. But as you can see, they're really nice and really ASMR-y. You got the co-crops, basically a fake version of Bounty, but smaller. You also have Beyoğlu King, which is essentially imitation Mars. They call it a nougat bar, covered with milk chocolate. Beyoğlu King. And then finally, last but not least, you got the probably embarrassingly named Nugala. I'm sure this is a slur in some language. It's a nougat bar, once again, covered with milky chocolate, but it's got nuts inside. So yeah, Cocoa Props Toad sounds like a genus level binomial name, says Louis J. Yeah, and I'm not gonna eat them on stream, but I want you to choose which one I should have tomorrow. King, Cocoa Crop Tops, or Nugala. I shouldn't pronounce it too many times. YouTube might demonetize me. Okay, the middle one, says Blake Richardson. Fake Bounty. 2 votes for Fake Bounty. Okay, I'm gonna get that tomorrow. Well, hello. I hope the incipient spring has been treating you nicely. I concur. Everybody concurred on cocoa crops. Okay. There's apparently a third group of legless extinct amphibians, and those are called the Aedylospondyli. Okay, let's look them up. I had no idea these were a separate group. Okay, they're related to Crassigyrinus, the giant tadpole creature. Basically, they look like this. Let me share it with you. Just a second. Now, if I had OBS, if I could wrap my mind around OBS, I could show you this as a background image. But this is what the Aedylospondyli look like. Kind of like crocodile-ish, newt-headed guys with long bodies. They kind of look like hellbenders or mud puppies. Aterdev says, how big are the coup from All Tomorrows? Pretty big. Kyra Fiskrov clarifies the tetrapod legless amphibian mess. Apparently, Crassigorinus is not a member of this group, the Adelospondylid group, but it belongs to another branch called amphibian grade stegocephalians. And yeah, I mean, the classification of those guys, it's really, really complicated. And they keep changing, and we don't have DNA to properly analyze. So all we got is anatomical features, and essentially it's just like for any animal that doesn't leave DNA imprints, the classification is essentially very hard guesswork. And in some clades, we got enough material to be reasonably certain. In others, we don't. Kyra Fiskrov clarifies, saying the Adelospondyli are amphibian grades, but they're like almost there with the tetrapods. But yeah. Okay. 27 people watching. Hello, everybody. And 16 minutes in. Last stream, the last live stream I had was probably one of the most embarrassing ever. Nothing bad happened. It was simply I was very tired. And I was reading those 1890s UFO cases. And I just got so tired, I almost fell asleep in midstream. But yeah, I'm better prepared now, more energized, and with some coffee. The Dark Master clarifies the amphibian mess even further, saying, oh, don't feel bad about misclassifying them, because historically they were once classified as a different group too. So yeah. Jerry Caleb joins in. Hello, my good friend. I just got here. Are these fish or amphibians? I think they're almost a secret third thing. I mean, yeah, they were vertebrates that lived in water and could breathe on land, but they're outside of every other tetrapod, so they're not proper amphibians. Maybe, who knows? Turan says snake boy. Dark Master says depends on the definition of amphibian. Well, yeah. One creature related to this group, and like a lot of you in the audience will probably know about it. It's Crassigorinus, but maybe in case some person who doesn't know this as much is watching, one was a really freaky creature. Let me look it up. So this thing called Crassigorinus, I think I may even have spoken about it on an earlier stream. It looked like this huge tadpole kind of creature with long legs. No, very short legs. Looks like a half fish kind of thing. And there you go. That's what it looks like. Crassigorinus, everybody. Okay, while we feast our eyes on this incredible, incredible creature, and this thing was quite big. It was as big as a door in some estimates, so would be a strange animal to have around. While we are enjoying the sublime aesthetics of this creature, let us do a roll call and let's hear where everybody is from. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? All 31 of you. Dark Master is from Mississippi, a very fossil and reptile rich state of the Union. Jerry Caleb is from Georgia. Gavin Tidwell from Florida. We got the entire South being represented. Bakara is from California. M is from Ankara, Sherefe. Mosey Burns is from Newfoundland. Sequence of Characters is from Ireland. Benito Camelo from Mexico City. Blake Richardson has to go. Have a nice one. Enjoy the replay. Turan is from Finland, Helsinki. Stub is from Puerto Rico. GW, read all tomorrows today. Kyra Fiskrove from Ohio. Cheers, man. Carnotaurus is from Canada. Hi from West Virginia, says Tony Avrolina. Night of the World is from Southern Carolina. Man, I'm so happy seeing this. GW is from Oregon. Like, it's insane how overrepresented my audience is in the United States. Like, each day, every time I look at those YouTube analytics and shit, literally like over 70% of my audience is from America. Not even the rest of the English world, just America. Then I think something like 10% is from Turkey. Then the rest is from the UK. And yeah, it's just like, so I must have been doing something right, and I'm very happy. Bleatnik is from Texas. Jerry Caleb says, America's sweetheart, yeah. Gnome's Child is from New York. I hope you're from the state and not the big city. Dark Master says, maybe because Americans have more YouTubers. I think really I think All Tomorrows really struck a chord over there. I don't know why, but because before 2021, I did not have this many American viewers. Too bad no one can move anywhere now. It's a new edict of Diocletian in the world. You know about that thing. So Diocletian, big emperor, Roman emperor, one of his reforms was called the Edict of Diocletian, which was a huge legal reform. It was almost like a state, like changing the way, it was like the Roman state changing the way it was run. And one of the things it did was it severely limited social mobility. It ensured that if your father was a farmer, you would also be a farmer, and you would almost have zero social mobility. It was a lot of other things besides. But yeah, despite all the talk of emigration, even of people like Donald Trump, of stapling a green card to a diploma, oh, those days are long gone. No one can fucking move anywhere. So you've got to tend your own garden. New age of Diocletian, everybody. Cheers. Pepular says, Americans love our odd sci-fi creator weirdos. Yes. And uniquely in the world, you can afford to... I'm not talking about myself necessarily, but Americans can really like afford a lot of things. You'd be surprised how many people around the world don't have the money or the social custom to pay money for obscure, weird little things. Benito Camelo says, I want to know if I could show you my latest piece. Okay. Go to c.m.koseman@gmail.com. c.m.koseman@gmail. Email it to me before the stream ends, and if you're not sending me some horrible piece of smut, I will share it with everybody on the stream. Dark Master says, I talk about nature videos and modern animals that are about Mississippi. I got an unusual amount of German subscribers. Well, that could be because there are a lot of intense reptile and amphibian enthusiasts in Germany. In fact, Germany has one of the world's most prestigious and largest reptile book publishing houses called Chimera. Let me show it to you. Sorry, Chimera. And I will share it with you now. Let's all visit Edition Chimera in Germany. Look, I mean, they got incredible photo illustrated books about the most obscure parts of the world, including countries that, as of yet, have no distinction as a country. Snakes of the Kurdistan region of Iraq. Like you got a book about this whole thing with incredible photographs. Techniques for photographing reptiles and amphibians in the field. Riesen salamander in Schauhaltungen. The genus Ommato. They got an entire book about this genus. They got an entire book about New Zealand geckos. Incredible. Reptiles of the Guianas. Like, oh my God. And the prices are, oh, daddy, 128 euros. God, I don't even make that much in a month. Snakes of Laos. Large terrariums, reptiles of the Lesser Antilles. This thing is like something out of a dream. Can you see these pages? Can you see what I'm sharing? Or somebody says blank screen, but okay, people are seeing it. Okay. What website is this, says Caden? It is kimaira.de. If you're secretly rich, I know I got some fans or followers who are set up for life. Go look up this edition Chimera. And you can just get these books. It's incredible. And you got everything, like books about. Look at this field guide to snakes of Eswatini, a region in Africa. Reptiles of Rhode Island. Amphibians of Rhode Island. Snakes of Singapore. Amphibia rettili di Abruzzo, a region in Italy. North American box turtles. Incredible. Just. Oh God. I mean, look. You could really like run out of money here. And they also sell historic books too. So they have these books like this one, Descriptiones et Icones Amphibiorum, like by Johannes Wagler, who's a very famous eccentric taxonomist and scientist from 1833. And it's got these vintage plates of reptiles, turtles, frog, all sorts of shit. So yeah, like if you got money to burn, you could start collecting reptile books from Chimera. But I would say keep it focused by region or clade. This is a fine point about collecting in general. You just don't start collecting everything, because like you'll be spread too thin. Imagine you get unlimited money and you want to collect reptile books, and I don't know, you live, I don't know, in Virginia, so maybe you start from Virginia and maybe collect books about American reptiles first. And in case, I don't know, something happens, you really like the Mediterranean, so you collect books about Mediterranean reptiles or amphibians. Or you're just particular to skinks, so you collect books about skinks. So you just focus. Can't help Can't help but read the reptiles of Rhode Island in a Seth MacFarlane's Frank Sinatra impression, says Louis J. Yes. Lizards is an expensive hobby, says Gnome's Child. Yes. It's like books. It's easy to turn money into lizards or books, but it's very hard to turn books or lizards into money. And what's worse is you can't even turn books into lizards or vice versa. It's a one-way change. Benito says, I sent you email. Okay, let's look at that then. Wait. Heroes rise. Na, na, na. Wait. Wow, this is really impressive. Seriously impressive. Psychedelic art by Benito Camelo. And I am downloading it now. Okay, let's take a look at it then. GC Sentinel says, gonna deploy my book to lizard powers at the National Library. Kyra Fiskrov says, breeders can sell lizards for money. Well, yeah, but the maintenance costs are so high that, I mean, people used to make a killing in the early 2000s just selling leopard geckos, but now the market is kind of saturated with them. Okay, let's share. There you go. Very nice. It reminds me of Alex Gray and also Jim Woodring. And go look these names up, Woodring and Alex Gray. It resembles the coup just a little, but like somehow crossed with Neon Genesis Evangelion Angels. And obviously this belongs to your own personal mental universe. Really great work. Just keep making more like this. It's wonderful. And I'll actually suggest you something. If there are like university parties or psytrance, if there's a psytrance scene around you, or like a music scene in general, I personally am not a huge fan of the psytrance music genre, but you could get in touch with people like this in your town or city and like just offer them to use your image for their posters and also for like clubs. And I don't know if you're into that sort of thing, but yeah, many people would actually like that opportunity. I mean, if you're up for that sort of thing, you could do cold calls and emails, and that would really work. I've got a question to everybody. You don't have to donate, but do you have the super chat option visible at the moment? GW asks, what do you believe the most perfect organism would look like? Well, I will show you. Just a second. Behold the perfect organism. Are you ready? Boom. Look at him. So round. So smooth. Oh my God. Thank you. Kare Fiskrov donated me $10 US. Incredible. I Thanks, man. This really is touching. I hereby declare you an honorary supporter for tonight's stream. Thank you so much. Oh my God, Louis J. 2 pounds, 2 quid. Thank you. My pleasure, old friend, says Kare. Thank you. Well, I can't tell you how much even 2 pounds can take me in Turkey in today's economy. I can literally spend the whole day on 2 quid alone. And it will include lunch, coffee, my commute, even a snack. Weird times we're living in. Turan says $10. Oh, is that a Full Metal Jacket reference? Kare Fiskrov asks, I hear there was a lot of inflation for the Turkish lira. Yes. I mean, suffice it to say, boom. I mean, like something that was worth 5 lira 2 years ago is now worth like 50, like 10 times the price. 10 times. And it shows no sign of sloping. It says, and it's increasing exponentially. Very nice questions. Joseph YouTube says, can't donate anything. Oh, thanks, man. Look, you've been a very, very strong supporter. So thanks for being here for me. Fernando asks, do you think the same tactics used against war elephants would be used against dinosaurs if they were used in warfare in the past? What tactics were used around war elephants? I mean, unless they were spooked by something very, very particular. And imagine you got a civilization that could domesticate dinosaurs. It would be like some dinotopia warfare kind of thing. And I don't know, if you had large dinosaurs, probably something like caltrops could work. Like these big spiky things thrown at their feet. Or, the best way to counter a war dinosaur would be another war dinosaur. So you would have something like Troy meets Dino Riders. Who knows? Very nice. Oh my God, Jerry Caleb sent me $5. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, be. Really means a lot, my friend. Thanks for making. $5 could cover my entire month's coffee costs. That's the kind of life we're talking about. Matt Project says, how do you research for Spec Evo projects? I usually have an area of interest ahead of time. So, like, I'm generally interested in dinosaurs to begin with. And then the project comes from that. So you do your research ahead of time. I almost never had to get into a project and then do the research about it. Usually the broad strokes of the research were pre-made already. So an advice from that could be just make projects based on what you know and what you love. Oh my God, nice comments. Turan says, I heard the Turkish economy was good. Weird. Well, you've been listening to the wrong people. Dark Masters asks, why do legless amphibians like isopods, lysaurophidians, and adelospondylines all died out, while other clades still persist, like caecilians and snakes. I think mass extinctions could have gotten them. And then, as the history of life on Earth progressed, there is a niche for, there's always going to be a niche for a cold blooded, elongated, legless creature just doing creature things. You almost have no mammalian or avian equivalents of snakes, because that long shape, if it's a mammal, it would get cold very quickly because of body heat reasons. It would be like, shrews and moles need to eat all the day to stay alive. So a snake that's derived from something like a shrew would be like 10 shrews joined end to end with the metabolic requirement of 10 shrews, but it would only have one shrew head. So, like, it would be infeasible. That creature would need to be always active and crazy. But cold blooded animals can pull this off because they don't need to eat as often. And that's the trick. If you could go back in time and talk to early Victorian dinosaur researchers, what would you discuss with them? Says videos for stuff. I would love to listen to. So in early Victorian times, there were a lot of dinosaur researchers, but there were also a lot of people who were just educated people of letters, and they just kind of opined about what these fossils in stones could have meant. And there was an entire spectrum of halfway ideas between religion, the flood, and people took some time even to conceptualize the idea that a group of animals could go extinct. So I would actually like talk to cranks or lesser known science enthusiasts, and I would love to hear their ideas about these things, what they are, what they could represent. I bet there was a lot of original ideas that are discarded today, but would have been interesting to listen to nevertheless. Hazar says wallpaper looks like my profile picture. Well, it is the perfect organisms, perfect organism. Louis J says shrew centipede. GG Channel says real question is Turkey's economy better than Argentina's? Okay, so there's a bizarre parallel between Turkey and Argentina in terms of their upper middle class societies. The way people dress, the way they're kind of hung up about mysticism, and in Argentina you got like an enormous community of people who are into like Jungian self-analysis and stuff like that. But you got a similar clique of people in Turkey too, and the way they dress, the way they relate to lower classes or like different people, it's very similar between Argentine and Turkish upper middle classes, and that similarity is not in a good way. Kare Fiskrov says very rightly that speculation is downstream from one's love of science and history. I'm going to pin your message because you were a great donor tonight, and this was based. Have you seen Ron Howard's Cocoon? It's one of the most disgusting boomer power fantasies put to film, says videos for stuff. Isn't that the movie where there's an alien ship in a hot spring and boomers go there and swim, and first they can get erections, then they get younger, I think. Yeah, let me look that up. Yeah, it's about these old guys getting young. But there's a very scary alien that looks old. And the aliens there, oh, I remember this. They look like memes now, but this really scared me back in the day. So I was sharing the perfect organism with you. Now I'm going to be sharing imperfect organism. These are the aliens from the 1985 film The Cocoon. There's something really uncanny and scary about these things. I'm really not. Nice questions. What is your favorite group of animals, and would you like to do a speculative evolution project out of them? Was Snide really inspired by dinosaurs? Says Matt Project. Snide was not directly inspired by dinosaurs, it was more inspired by Wayne Barlow's Spec Evo project with Darwin 4. But I think if I had a favorite group to work with, it would be maybe arachnids. I just love to draw arachnid creatures over and over again. Turan asks, I think you're being really you're underselling, and like I think it's a nice angle. I heard Istanbul's mayor was arrested. Is it real? It is real, but we don't talk about it. Yeah. Hey, I gotta watch my own ass, okay? I gotta watch out for my own ass. We got chocolates to eat, and it's a very unfair state of affairs, though. In situations like this, when there's something big, horrible, and undeniable going on in contemporary news or in your recent history, the Turkish experience has taught me one thing. One, this thing, it's like a imagine you're a bunch of kids in a neighborhood and there's a power line, but it's on the ground, it's exposed, okay? Like you can't touch that and hope not to be affected by it somehow. So that's how politics and power are like in countries like Turkey. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I actually don't stream or create anything in the Turkish language. Because the language itself is communications. Communication means complicity. And time and again, you've seen Turkish internet creators, people like Jahrein, the famous streamer, or even like, ah, there's like a early 2000s atheism is cool web page called Evrim Ağacı, which means a tree of evolution. And on paper, they're meant to share stuff about evolution, science, and stuff like that. In practice, it is run by a traitor who's one of the most mid personalities I've ever had chance to like read about. Because you get mixed up with this, you get mixed up with politics. If you output anything in the Turkish language or Georgian or Greek, or it doesn't matter. Many countries are like this. But if you output anything, if you stay insular, if you are insular, then this power line gets a grip on you. You may not be interested in politics, but the politics, they will be interested in you as soon as you get some attention. Yeah, I mean, there was a guy called Diamond Tema who was an atheism guy, and he was commenting about religion and history, and like, I think like he started getting death threats. I'm not even gonna recount what happened. It's too horrible, but very scary. Yes. So that's one thing. Okay, that's like the big, undeniable boot grinding on your face over and over again in these types of countries. I mean, face it, it's a mild autocracy. It has always been a mild autocracy. It's always going to be a mild autocracy. Not even changes in regime or leadership are gonna change that. And when you get a sensitive question in a place like this, there's a great answer, which I learned from a British source commenting about some nasty political no-no. It's the British art of saying things but not saying things. So you imagine you get a spicy question and your answer is very simple. You just say, "Oh, my dear friend, the ideas I have on this question, on this matter, are shared by a great many people." And you fuck off. That's that. I think in that respect, Turkey is 100 years ahead of the West, and in just you watch. I mean, many developed countries are gonna end up like Turkey, some faster than those others. Just you watch. So yeah, GG Channel says I would have to talk about the giant Pygoscelis War of '87. Pygoscelis is this weird, legless, flap-footed lizard, and I think it's just a pun on the Great Emu War because both pygopods and emus live in Australia. So yeah. Adelaide Co says, "Hi, hello. Are you really from Adelaide? In that case, I think good morning." Ret 1000 says, "Do you remember your book All Tomorrows? Do you remember your President Nixon? Da-na-na. Do you remember the bills you have to pay? Or even yesterday? Dum, dum, doo, 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 doo. Young Americans by David Bowie." I'm not gonna even like dignify that with a response. So Turan says you should stream in the Antarctican language. What language would that be? Tekelili, the sound of the blind penguins from H.P. Lovecraft's Mountains of Madness. Louis J says, I guess I gotta unpack because looks like I can't move to Turkey after all. You can still come as a tourist. You don't have to move. That's a weird thing. When people see a thing or place they like, they want it to be permanent. When they see a cool animal, they say, I want to get one as a pet. When they see a nice country, they say, I want to move there. You could just enjoy that animal being alive and not have it in your house, rotting in a box. Or if you like a part of the world, you could just, maybe come as a tourist once. GG Channel says, just astral project to Turkey then. Well, we're welcome to try those. There was a CIA project supposedly about astral projection. Oh God, what was it? Gateway tapes. Yeah, the Gateway project. I got a big video in the works about that, but yeah, someday I will finish it. Mat Project says, "Do you like Serena, the World of Birds?" Yes, I had this question asked to me numerous times, and I've always said it's one of the most creative and best illustrated spec O projects out there. Really, really love it. Louis J says, "We're getting into what if altist territory now." Oh man. I mean, that guy, that what if altist character. Yeah, I wish he could sit down for a talk with me. But who am I? I'm just a minor eccentric YouTuber with 34 people watching. And that guy's got hundreds of thousands. Matt Project says, what is your favorite bird? All birds are fascinating. It would have to be like a hard choice between like pigeons in general because they're just so weird. And you think a pigeon is like the most boring and ordinary bird, but like you start looking at their movements and their faces, their weird characteristics, the way, for example, domestic pigeons have been bred into weird forms, or you look at there's some incredibly weird naturally occurring pigeon species too. They're fantastic. Even the dodo is a giant pigeon, if in case you're curious. So yeah. Not to mention the millions of lives they saved. Yeah, plus they're cute. They make really relatable pets. YouTube Joseph says, "I wish there were epic rap battles about praised speculative evolution." I'm not much of a rap singer. I like composing stupid rhymes sometimes. And rap is not my thing. GG Channel says, M says, "How come there are no venomous birds in general?" There are actually poisonous birds. Behold the hooded pitoe. Now you may know about this thing, but this bird, let me get the image loaded. So this bird does something with either insects, prey, or some sort of plant it ingests. And as a result, its leg spurs have a poisonous secretion. I mean, look at this thing. It's really cute. It looks like a tiny toxic crow kind of creature. Not like a Komodo dragon, because Komodo dragons, they do have toxic saliva too, but these guys don't have bacteria or like toxic microorganisms. It's just like dry, poisonous sweat. This is called the hooded pitohui. Pitohui. Jerry Caleb says, "Oh, more sanitary." Yes, a more sanitary way to poison yourself. This bird always reminded me of dear old Prometheum, online friend who is also a chemist, used to do intro videos for some of my big videos, but the color scheme and just the overall look and the toxic stuff, yeah. I hope she's doing all right. Okay, what else do we have? Videos for Stuff says, Of Olaf Stapledon's five big sci-fi novels, Last and First Man, Last Man in London, Star Maker, Old Drone, and Sirius, which one do you think left the biggest impact on you? It was Star Maker for me. I mean, it was an influence for All Tomorrows. But then years later, I read The Last Man in London too, and that's like a very underrated and incredible book. Very, very nice. Grunwalder says, in my galactic sci-fi project, people visit other planets digitally, but still see and interact with the environment there. How would they deal with lag? Because still you're sending, I mean, considering you're an Einsteinian universe, you're sending signals to light years, someplace light years away. So I guess you send a digital simulacrum, but it has to be some sort of like a self-contained AI package simulation of you, goes there, has experiences, comes back and kind of like amalgamates itself back into your mind. Maybe that's how it works. And you just hope it gives your responses. But is that really you? Who could forget, says Louis J. Videos for Stuff says, do you have any opinions on Star Trek? I think it's one of the great, genuinely good, smart forms of entertainment out there, which was really rare. They really tried to dumb it down with those stupid J.J. Abrams films. But like every episode, they tackled something philosophical. And also, it was, I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but in American television, it was really progressive without being like all without being naggy about it. Like it had the first mm, cross racial kiss between Captain Kirk and Uhura, who was supposed to be an alien, but she was also portrayed by an African American lady. I still haven't like started watching Star Trek in depth, but like you could take any Star Trek episode and change the characters and adapt them to your world, and like you could have like a huge book on itself. So yeah, it assumed a socially progressive future for Earth. Yeah, in the 70s, having an Asian, black, and Soviet guy on the same set was a great deal. And once again, it wasn't forced or contrived, or like it did not have this nagging HR lady or classroom atmosphere as like some of the Star Wars remakes had. And like it was back in an age when civil rights had a point. Is there any Subnautica creature you found interesting, says Turan? Well, the creatures in Subnautica are designed by my internet friend, Alex Rees, who's a great, great concept artist. And he was already great at drawing underwater aliens even before he was contracted for this game. And it really like changed his career. He had a creature called, I forget, in the early 2000s, he had this thing. Wait. He had a creature called Barnard's Sword Swallower. And let me show you. So Alex Rees drew this thing, okay? This alien. It's a giant, like, filter feeding creature that swims on this one tentacle. So, like, it goes forward, and the mouth is like a basket, and it kind of collects plankton. Really ingenious design. And Alex is a great talent in rendering underwater scenes. Now, the kicker for this thing is this image was created in something like the year 2004. And back then, many people hadn't even heard of those drawing tablets. So here was this guy who could paint with digital software. He could paint like real paint. And he was one of the first people to pull this off so elegantly. He's also the creator of the birrin species, Birrin. So I think this image was like, I don't know for sure, you got to ask Alex, but this was one of the images that landed him the Subnautica gig. GG Sen channel suggests some more great Alex Reese artworks. Second Instar and the Antler Worm. Let's look at those. Ooh, yeah. Wait, I'm just getting the image sorted. Wait. Okay. Let me share it. Greetings from Bulgaria, says Presko. Greetings, Komshu. 30 people watching. Great little crowd tonight. Great little crowd. So this is Alex's painting, Second Instar, and it shows this like God-sized thing descending into a world, probably causing a mass extinction. And you really can't tell if this is like a spaceship or a kaiju or an organism or a god or I don't know. But it really kind of drives home the idea that, there could be organisms that are as complicated as entire planets in size and sophistication. And Louis J sums it up saying, whatever this is, it's in the second instar. I think it's a celestial being. This looks so majestic, says Turan. Well, yeah, that's that. 1 hour in, 34 people watching. C Cyborg says, Alex Reese is a great artist. Yeah, he's making the Birin project into a book now. It's really going to be nice. Whoa, almost 40 people. Sleep is going to have its way with me soon, but yeah, it is what it is. Why on the fall says, is this Birin related? I don't know. Alex did have this point painting about giant, godlike, post-human creature coming to the Birin world. I think he loves that image of like a giant alien descending on a world, and that's just that. Any more newcomers since the last half hour? Please please declare yourself so we greet you. C Cyborg says, one of those paintings really took off. 43 people watching, great. Hayden says, hello. Why on the Fall asks, Absent Fish just came over, hello. Why on the Fall says, do you read many sci-fi or fantasy books? Yeah, a lot. So I think I got 3 kinds of books I'm reading these days. One are Turkish memoirs, 2 are English language history books, and 3 would be pure English language science fiction. And I always like read one or the other. I last finished Stephen Baxter's Massacre of Mankind, which was his official officially sanctioned sequel to H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds, and it's a lovely little work, lovely book, kind of predictable, but has some really dark and weird scenes too. And in it, the Martians return, but you got sections from all parts of the world in there. So there's even a section set in Istanbul, and in that sequel to the War of the Worlds, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk organizes a defense against the Martians, and he becomes a great politician afterwards. MGO says, hey, hey, hello, hello. Videos for Stuff says, have you read any of Donald Moffat's books? I haven't, but he's the guy who wrote Enemy Mine, right? Or maybe not. Maybe, sorry, no, not that. Donald Moffat. I never read any of his work. The Genesis Quest. No, like one of. No, I haven't. I'm reading the Genesis Quest. Let's read it together. I'm reading the Genesis Quest Wikipedia page. Really nice cover, by the way. Great artwork. An alien race assembled humans from a stream of genetic information transmitted by radio. The resulting colony of clones humans they somehow rebel against their parents. This is a nice book. I would love to read it. Really nice book. GG Channel says Stephen Baxter's Evolution is really a great book. Yeah, there's an intelligent ornitholestes creature in one of the chapters. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Evolution is a book by Stephen Baxter. It's literally he goes chapter by chapter in world history and then extends into the future. Starts from the age of the dinosaurs and extends into the future, but in each chapter he has speculations and great sci-fi stuff. Sadly, Stephen Baxter's like takes on human society are always a bit. They are too engineery and they kind of fall flat. Yeah. An hour and 14 minutes. Guys and gals, sleep is knocking. I'm getting very sleepy all of a sudden. So let's take some last questions. Turan says deep ocean creatures are very interesting to me. Thank you. What history books are you reading? Says Hayden. I'm actually reading this one. It's a little gem of a book called The Frogman by Walden E. Gleason. And it's a book about British underwater operations, marine operations during the Second World War. A really great book. Like each page is full of heroism and like incredible technical stuff, which actually happened. Right now, I'm reading this section about. So the Italians started this stuff first. They were using two-man underwater torpedoes to sabotage British ships. Then the British learned of this and kind of designed their own forces to carry out underwater warfare. There's a chapter here which I might actually turn into a proper YouTube video. I won't spoil the surprise, but these guys, when they're training for underwater sabotage, they go and have these pressure training, like deep diving pressure training in a kind of pressure tank. And they think a demon lives in the tank because they all start hallucinating and like they come out and they're bleeding from the nose and stuff like that. So they call this demon, quote unquote, they call it oxygen Pete. And they even compose a little poem for it, saying, "For down at the depth of 70 feet lives a demon by the name of Oxygen Pete." So there's actually a huge, huge amount of lore about this Oxygen Pete demon and how it develops among the crew when they're training for war. But they also got whole chapters about like clearing mines during D-Day and how they used limpet mines and stuff like that. An interesting point is like they ask people about hazardous duty and stuff, and one of the guys who volunteers actually has something like a suffocation fetish. He says that many people shirked at the idea of diving, but I found the darkness comforting. I loved being surrounded by inky black watery darkness, and like he really tells it in very relishing terms, so it's really interesting. Like these books are great, by the way. These kinds of like, I mean, you would think they're pulp books, but no, actually, this one's like a proper history book. So, yes, strongly recommended. The Frogman by Waldron and Gleason. Bakara says, "Have you read Starship Troopers?" I will. I have it. I haven't read it yet. Professional Overthinker says, "What do you think a carnivorous sauropod would mean for its ecosystem?" It would be a theropod. The earliest sauropods and earliest theropods are very similar. They're like longish bodied, long necked, long tailed creatures with a small head. And then you see as they evolve, the sauropods have bigger bodies because they digest lots of plants. But yeah. Adonahim says hello. Pimp Demon says hello. Hello, everybody. Pepular says, "What do you mean by being too engineery about Stephen Baxter's writing?" Well, he's got a very pessimistic view on humanity, but it's just bleak. I mean, people are too prone to turn into warfare and self-destructive behavior in Baxter's worldview. Louis J says, "What's your honest opinion of my land and people, the UK? The UK has an enormously deep history, really like incredibly nice people. The way the United Kingdom consolidated is just like a great story to read about. Wars between the kings, and then at one point there's the Norman invasion and everything. Your food is great, actually. I'm not even saying this as a joke. Like, I really love sausage and mash, for example, for breakfast. British, says GG Channel. Yeah, there's more to, of course, more to the United Kingdom than just London, but like still like some very. There are lots of very beautiful towns, the countryside. Nice, nice place, nevertheless. All right, everybody, it's nearly an hour and a half. I can see the sleep seeping in from my eyes. I'm a bit tired. Happy Bayram, and it was great talking to you all, or 37 of you. Thanks to everybody who donated, including my good friend Kyra Fiskroff. Bubble Wrap says British breakfast is the best. I wish I can have some British breakfast tomorrow. But I think I'm going to do the next best thing, which is the egg sandwich bash, which is you take a big loaf of bread, turn half into a sandwich, cram it with butter, salt, pepper, olive oil, and two whole hard boiled eggs. Mash them all together and like put them in the sandwich and eat that off. It's the best thing. Louis J says, when I was very young, I watched this great animated show called Insectors, in which all characters have regional UK accents. I will need to look at that. Let's look at that before saying good night. Wow, interesting. It looks like Ant Z. Well, this is what Insectors looks like apparently. Kroberg says, "Will you make any sketching guides?" I could do that. Yes, some more art tutorials, definitely. Lagia says, "What's your favorite Turkish food?" I answered this so many times. Probably Turkish ravioli, mantı. Okay, everyone. Just so sleepy. This was a great night. If you want to say any good night messages, convey any good night messages, now is the time. And if you're watching on the replay, just comment and like. It helps me on the algorithm. Would be considered very nice if you could support me on Patreon. I'm updating it like crazy. Literally every day there's a new painting or a new creature from Snayad or something like that. Good night, my people, says Louis J. Good night, everybody. This has been CM Cosman. As always, I love you all. Hope you have a nice day. And tomorrow, as per your request, I will wake up eating cock ups.